last time that I read, last week, something happened. Does anybody remember what it was? Somebody was... Somebody was hurt. Edward... I can't think of his last name. Can't find his last name. Edward, a young boy, has a broken leg. Now, for us to break a leg right now, not a big deal. I mean, it's inconvenient, but it's probably not going to kill us, right?
It's not the most pain you can endure.
Right? It's not going to kill us. Now, prairie times, living in a wagon out in the middle of nowhere, doctor's super far away, it's a little bit more dangerous, right? Just a little.
Oh, and especially when they're going to start eating people. That's why.
We haven't gotten to that point yet.
That's where I watched videos on if you have a broken leg in there.
Hours passed before the barber surgeon rode up on a mule. He carried a black bag bulging with tools and instruments. I was trimming the captain's beard when I got your urgent message, he said. Came as fast as I could. Where's my patient? The barber surgeon, as in he's a barber and also a surgeon, right? You caught that? Barber, trimming a beard. Surgeon, cuts into people. Okay? Hopefully not. The same scissors. Sam? It was mostly potatoes.
It was a potato disease.
Yeah. The barber surgeon gave Edward's broken leg one look, shook his head. That leg doesn't come off, it'll kill him. He pulled out a wicked-looking saw. We have to keep him still now. He turned to Zeke. You, son, come and help hold down your friend. Reluctantly, Zeke stepped forward. No, Pa, Edward moaned. Don't let him saw off my leg, Pa. But son, his mother whispered, he says it has to come off. Please, Pa, Edward's voice cracked. Please, can we just leave my leg alone? Maybe it'll heal, Ma. Maybe it'll fix itself. Quick is best, the barber surgeon muttered. He stroked his meat saw. 3 strokes and it's off. Edward's pa cleared his throat. We'll wait. Sure we will, he said, his Irish accent soothing. We'll give it a chance to heal. Sorry, I can't do an Irish accent. I could try, but I'm not very good. That's a fool's decision, the barber surgeon huffed. We'll wait, Edward's pa said again. An infected leg could get gangrenous, Zeke thought. The barber surgeon said, you still have to pay me for my trouble. Whether I saw it off or not, I still get paid. Zeke bent and spoke to his friend. I'll pray for your leg to heal. I should have listened to you, Edward groaned. His ma said, listen to him about what? Virginia shot Zeke a warning look. I just said the sandbake wasn't a good place to race, Zeke stammered. To his relief, Reed strode up. All done here? The barber surgeon said, unfortunately, it seems so. He watched as Edward's parents rolled their wagon away from the gathered crowd. However, I do have some good news for your party. And what's that? Reed asked. Zeke edged closer to the barber surgeon, handed his boss an elegantly printed letter. This is an open letter to all pioneers going to California. It's from Mr. Lansford Hastings, the famous travel guide. Lansford Hastings? James Reed's face lit up as he began to read. Lemuel and Virginia pressed close to Zeke's elbow. The 3 friends waited breathless. It says he's discovered a shorter route to California, James Reed told the gathering crowd. He calls it the Hastings Cutoff. If we want to take it, he'll meet us at Fort Bridger and be our guide. He says it's an easy road to paradise. Anybody ever heard of the Hastings Cutoff?
I'll do it.
Yes, you do. Thanks. Virginia whispered, a shortcut? Papa will do that for sure. You know, he reads Hastings' guidebook all the time. A tiny woman with a surprisingly loud voice shouted, why take a different route? The route we're on is good and well marked because the Hastings Cutoff is 300 100 miles shorter, James Reed said. Keeping his voice down so only Zeke and Lemuel could hear, Virginia murmured. Keeping her voice down, Virginia murmured, I heard Papa talking to Ma. He's worried we're going too slow. We're way behind schedule. He wants to make sure we don't get stuck in the snow in the Sierra Nevada mountains. This is good news. Zeke felt a sliver of unease. He hoped taking the Hastings cutoff wasn't a mistake. It couldn't be, could it? Surely they could trust the advice of the well-known guide, Lansing Hastings. They can't. Spoiler alert. September 1846, the Hastings cut off Utah. Zeke stood at the fork in the road. He studied the countless wagon tracks on the famous trail leading north. The Hastings cutoff, the unknown shortcut, led south. He'd been told that eventually the trails would merge again on the far side of the Great Salt Lake. It was the 28th of July, and today the pioneers were making a very important decision. Papa says we're taking the Hastings cutoff, Virginia said. Zeke made a face. The Oregon Trail, the one with lots of wagon wheel tracks, looks real good to me. The Hastings cutoff is 300 miles shorter. It'll save us time. The Murphy, Graves, Breen, and both Donner families are coming too. Zeke digested this news. The families elected George Donner as leader last night, Virginia said. So we're called the Donner Party now. But they should have elected my papa, don't you think? Zeke felt uneasy, but it appeared he was the only one. With only 2 days until August, the Donner Party split away from the large wagon trade. In 20 creaking ox wagons, the family set off south on the Hastings cutoff. Excitement filled the air. It's July. Westward ho! George Donner waved his bullwhip forward to California. The pioneers cheered, but almost immediately, things began to go wrong. When they arrived at Fort Bridger, the man who'd promised to be their guide, Lansford Hastings, was nowhere to be found. Instead, he'd left a note at the barber surgeon's trading store. I've gone ahead with another pioneer group. Follow and catch up with me. Catch up? How? To make matters worse, the much-needed supplies offered at the barber surgeon's trading store were way overpriced. I bet this barber surgeon just lured us here to sell us stuff, Zeke told Lemuel. Lemuel nodded. How can we make this cutoff? We don't even have a map. My ma says we should go back and join the other wagons. Lansford Hastings left instructions, Virginia said. Papa says we'll be fine. Initially, the trail was easy and smooth, but to everyone's dismay, it soon became steep and slippery. After a back-breaking struggle, the pioneers reached Weber Canyon, where Lemuel spotted a note tacked on a sagebush. Uh-oh, Lemuel said, scanning its contents. It's from Hastings. Zeke took it and read it with dismay. Trail through canyon nearly impossible. Stay here, wait for message. Come on, he said. Let's show this to Boss Reed. Lemuel nodded. We'll have to turn around and go back to the fork, Zeke said. But no, instead, James Reed galloped ahead on his racing mare in search of Hastings. It took him 4 whole days to return. Zeke swallowed hard when Reed saw his grim face. What was happening now? Hastings says he's made his mistake. Weber Canyon is a nightmare for wagons, Reed said. The group he's leading barely made it through. He says winter is coming and he doesn't have time to come back for us. He sends his regrets. Lemuel snorted. Sends his regrets? I told you, we should turn back. Reed overheard and his frosty blue eyes flashed. There's no time to turn back, Cecil. We're already dangerously late. Hastings told me about an alternate route with the Wasatch Mountains. We'll take that. No one wants your advice, Cecil, Lemuel whispered with a grin. Watch it, mule, Zeke said. With no trail whatsoever, they set off through Utah's steep Wasatch Mountains. So much for the easy road to paradise, Zeke said. It's impossible for oxen to pull these wagons. We'll have to clear a wagon trail, Reed said, starting now. I know, sir. A sense of foreboding lit a fire under Zeke as he got down to work. Day after day, the men hacked trees and moved boulders. They inched forward at the painfully slow rate. Water was growing scarce and cattle stumbled and fell on the rocky ground. The effort drained the pioneers and animals. Zeke was devastated when Virginia's beloved pony collapsed and refused to move. After more than 3 weeks, the 80 pioneers stumbled out of the mountains. Winter is coming fast, Zeke thought. Already leaves were turning crimson and gold. From the broad mountain slope, he stared down at the next disaster, the Great Salt Lake.